Good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:02. Everyone is here, so thank you, everyone. If you would please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If y'all please be seated. So at this time, we have a couple things, citizens to be heard. It's a 30-minute period total. You'll have 3 minutes. The rules are the board welcomes citizens' participation and comments at all our meetings. If you wish to speak, you must follow these guidelines. First, please be respectful and courteous. Direct your comments to the entire board, not to the individual member nor towards the audience. Show the board the same respect that you would like to be shown. End your speaking time as allotted below. When you're speaking your first citizens comment period, you're required to sign up to speak and you are limited to 1 3-minute period. After the discussion, there will be a second citizen comment period, which you are not required to sign up and you are limited to 1 2-minute period. When you come up, please state your name, your address before your comments begin. You are only allowed to speak once per topic unless speaking during a post-public hearing. So with that said, are there citizens to be heard?
We had one person sign up, but they're going to speak during the public hearing instead of during citizen comments, so no.
Okay, great. With that, we're going to follow some items for consideration. First, you all should have received your minutes from June 16, 2025. I need to get approval for those minutes. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Elizabeth approves. Second? Roy seconds. With all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. The minutes have been approved. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the rules of procedure. So we have a petition by Don and Connie Simmons for a zoning variance to ordinance number 13-102-024, Section 2 zoning regulations. They are here? Yes? Yes, there he is. Okay, great. Subsection 206.04, accessory structure B, residential accessory structures, Table 6, which requires that an accessory structure such as a carport be located behind the front facade of the primary dwelling in a residential zoning district. The property is located at 20632 Timber Rose Drive and further known as Lot 29, Block 1, Garden Ridge Estates Subdivision, Garden Ridge, Comal County, Texas, consisting of 0.86 acres in size and zone residential estate RE district. So receiving the presentation from the applicant, we have already received the presentation. Does he want to come forward? Mr. Simmons? Don? I want to make sure that's you. All right, so why don't you share with us your request?
Got the permit, and then I come to find I was notified that I was in violation of the ordinance. You said I stopped construction immediately, and that's my fault. I'm very guilty, and if you vote now yes or no, you're going to vote me out. I know that, but I am in error. What I would like to do is be considered to leave it. One, I've got a few things. I didn't make enough copies, unfortunately, but this is my plat or my land. I only have.
We have copies of that, right? We have copies of his plot? Because I think we have this. I just want to make sure. It's in the packet, so I just want to make sure we have.
Oh,
your
okay.
copies. So we have the plot, but thank you.
Well, I wanted to be prepared. This is very important to me.
Yes, sir.
The carport, I have a carport on the side of my house, but I have mobility issues. Not as bad as most people, a lot, but it's when I get out of a car, I've got to open the door all the way and work myself in or out. And the side carport does not lend itself to that. Now this is something new. These are basically my reasons. Do y'all want these or just talk about them?
Just speak to them, please.
Pardon?
You just speak to them.
Okay. Basically, getting in and out of the side carport is very difficult for myself and my wife, slightly younger than me. A front carport really helps. At the same time, pulling in and out of that carport on the side, because my drive is just so wide and the carport's so wide, I've actually run into a tree with my pickup. I can show you a photo if you want. I took that. That's new. But that's, again, it's my error. I mean, it's a series of errors. But I would like to be considered to be able to keep my carport. It's easier for us to get in. It's really a basic mobility issue. I'm just not as mobile and flexible. My mind, I hope, is still with me, but the other parts are not, some of them. And that's what I'd like to be considered if I can do it. The carport also helps a car. I can, because with all the trees, and that's why we moved to Garden Ridge. It's beautiful here. I wouldn't trade. But between the trees, gravity, and Murphy's Law, it makes the top of my car a target. And although I do a couple of times a year have the trees serviced and stuff, but they outpace me in their growth. So really that's what it is. I would like to add whenever I was notified I was in violation, I ceased immediately. As such, it's just an eyesore right now because I had planned to put the stucco on the columns, the stucco on the front, and paint it to match the house. And given the opportunity, I will do that. It's got to be done. So it's really ugly right now. Living here, we've tried to do things right. We bought an older house, very dated. I spent a ton of money inside, which you couldn't see. I added on with a permit a closet, and we've done a lot of landscaping. I have a statue in front of my house that's valued $20,000 to $80,000. I don't know, but it's priceless to me because it's in my will to go to my son. It's a Frederick Remington bronze. So I'm not trying to take away from that. I want to keep with the beauty of Garden Ridge because that's why we're here. And, so that's really it. And I just ask if y'all can forgive me for making such a big error to even start it, to be able to grant the variance to let me complete it. And that's really it.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Simmons before we have, I know there's a few questions for the attorney and the city manager. Go ahead.
I just, how did you not know that you had to have a permit to build a carport inside the lot line in front of your house?
No, I did not. I didn't even think about a permit because there's no plumbing. I do have one electric circuit that I put in just for, not to plug anything, just motion sensor lights. And that's a problem, take it out. It's one circuit, it's just not a big, but that is my error. I did not get a permit. Again, this is the only.
It's in the setback.
Pardon?
I said, it's in the front of the house, in the setback.
Yes, it is totally in the setback. I can show you the plat. And it just makes it, like I say, from a mobility standpoint, it's so much easier for her and I to get in and out. She just had knee surgery and it's almost over with that. But mine is a permanent, having to use this thing. But I did not get the permit. I'm sorry for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you, Mr. Simmons. If you want to have a seat, we'll have a little bit of a discussion on that. There are some clarifications that we need from the attorney. So you can have a seat. That way you're not standing and then we'll call you back up if we need you, okay? Just have a seat and give us a minute. I think Autumn has a question for the attorney and then maybe staff.
Yeah, so when I was reading the city ordinances last night, I saw that it references a portico in the packet that Mr. Simmons sent to us. He referenced, right now it's a carport, and in option B, or exhibit D, sorry, is turning it into a porticache. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. There's nothing in the ordinances that reference a porticache. Are we assuming that a portico and porticache are the same thing in the city ordinances?
So that would speak to whether or not it's defined, and if it wasn't defined, then that would go to what the intent when the ordinance was adopted. I was not here when the ordinance was adopted, so I can't speak to the intent of the language. I'm not sure if staff has an answer to that.
I'm not sure how it's defined or how, when it was put into the ordinance itself or written.
So with the intent being vague for the city attorney, can we interpret it that it is the same for now until the ordinance can be cleaned up a little bit?
Yes, y'all can interpret how it works for purposes of making your determination, absent some obvious answer to the opposite.
Okay.
Okay, I just asked that because when a portico, I mean, technically, when you look it up, a portico and porticache are very different things. A portico is just a walkway. A porticache is actually having something you drive underneath and park your car and access with a walkway. But also when looking at Exhibit D, what is referenced as building like a covered walkway that still does not make it into a porticache. Section 2 in the ordinance, city ordinances 2.06.04, it has to be attached to the house. It cannot just have a sidewalk or breezeway. Even if there's a sidewalk or breezeway, it is technically still considered a separate structure. So that goes back to that is not allowed within the city limits for that. And also that separate structure, it has to be also attached to the main frame of the home, whereas this would be attached to the stucco. If you look at the picture on Exhibit E, there's a little white to create the courtyard in front of the house. It looks like from what I see from Exhibit D, it would be attached to that courtyard white stucco entrance. So that still is not even connected to the actual main frame structure of the house to create a porticache.
The ordinance has a accessory building definition that lists functionally everything that could be considered an accessory building. It's a pretty long. So in 402, words and terms defined, accessory structure is listed as a subordinate structure used for the purpose primarily, customarily incidental to the main structure, such as, but not limited to, private garage for automobile storage, carport, RV port, tool house, greenhouse, home shop, and it just continues on. So it would reasonably fall within the accessory structure. So the distinction may not have much bearing absent it being expressly defined somewhere else.
Any other questions for the attorney? So it sounds like we have flexibility because of that this could be allowed.
Right, yeah, well, staff's determination is what we go off of. So
But we have no
staff's
staff here.
determination is that the carports are not allowed in this way. So that's what the board's hearing, is that staff denied the application, and so this is the appeal body for staff's saying that this doesn't align with the ordinance. So you have to decide, so the body's purpose is to decide whether or not the criteria for a variance is, for this circumstance, that they should be allowed to have an exception functionally to the requirement, which is it's not allowed. So that's where your discretion comes, is this based on the criteria, something the body wants to grant, so long as it meets the express criteria. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so as long as we can answer yes to the following questions for the criteria that we can say, then we can either approve based on that it
Right.
meets all of these criteria.
Yes, so, and just for like general clarity, the reason anything would come to you is because it's been denied by
Right.
staff for not meeting the strict letter of the law.
Correct.
Or your
Yes.
ordinance.
Getting the packet from Mr. Simmons, I was assuming that the other option was to create, the reason why I was talking about this was because it could be turned into a porticache on Exhibit D, which But the problem would be that it still would not technically be a porticache if it's not, that was because a porticache would then be allowed within the city ordinance.
Can staff speak to that as the interpreter of the ordinance?
Well, I mean, from an interpretation of the ordinance, again, I'm not here when this ordinance was put together. My previous cities, these were considered accessory structures, okay? I mean, we're here because he didn't get a permit. That's why. Not that it was denied, per se. At least that's my understanding, is that it was brought to his attention he didn't get a permit. No,
He did get denied on a permit. That's included in the packet.
once he
Yes.
got a permit.
Yeah.
Because
I
his
would be a
understanding he
whole
didn't
lot
get a
more
permit at all.
comfortable with this if there, one, had been a permit, and two, the disability had been mentioned ahead of time for the permit, that you have a problem, this is my problem, and
So
So
we
wait,
should ignore,
Right.
for purposes of this decision, we should ignore that it's built.
Right.
A permit would have been denied because it doesn't meet the criteria of the ordinance. So that would have come here anyway. So the fact that it's been built doesn't necessarily go to whether or not a hardship would happen, because it would have been denied because it's not, a carport is not permitted in the city limits. Does that make
However, you
sense?
did mention that it is allowed in the ordinance through.
No, that's that's not what I said.
No, but I'm saying, I guess I want clarification, because earlier you said as an accessory, carports were allowed.
I said that a carport is an accessory structure,
Which is
along with
allowed.
all of the other.
And I'll jump in and say the issue here is outlined in the notice that our ordinance requires that an accessory structure, such as a carport, be located behind the front facade of the primary building in a residential zoning district. So this is not located behind the front facade, so that's where the variance comes in. That
Correct.
you can have a carport as long as it meets those guidelines in subsection 2.06.04 that addresses accessory structures, and it has to be behind the front facade. This one is clearly in front of the house. So maybe that helps clear up confusion.
And somewhere did I read that behind the house also didn't allow for the carport to be placed there? Is there an issue why it couldn't be put in behind the house?
I believe it was for the entrance. He couldn't,
At
he needed.
the front of the house.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
That was the issue, right? Okay.
I'm not the decision maker, you can tell that.
Yeah, you can come back up. If you want to say something, you can come back up. If you want to clarify something.
In my June 19th letter to y'all, we have been discussing, and if this is a condition, I can attach this to the house and make it look really nice, and it's been then considered a porte-cochere, of which there are several within the older sections of Garden Ridge, and that make my wife happy because it's weatherproof, and we can walk under it. And if that's a condition, I already said I would do that. And then around this area, I'm not into y'all's city, what the ordinances and stuff, but after looking at it, there's quite a few, and it's just a dated thing, like, chain link fences. Y'all have a wooden fence that goes up to the property line with Constantine wire, and I'm surrounded by chain link fences. And then I know on carports, there's one that appears to be within the guidelines. It's on the side of the house, and it's just an aluminum carport. And mine is, in total modesty, like 20 times better looking. Not that that's part of it, because you got your rules. But my point is, I can make that a porte-cochere and make y'all happy and make my wife happy. So, and I've got it, if that's a consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just want to let you know.
So a point of order, because that would change what the permit or the request would be. Would he have to go back through the permit process if he makes the change?
So an accessory structure is an accessory structure. I just want that to be abundantly clear.
Okay,
The section that the variance is requesting is the accessory structure.
Okay.
So you can start splitting, if they're treated differently in the ordinance, that's when it matters. But if it's an accessory structure, calling it something else, absent it falling explicitly under something else, likely will not change the outcome.
Okay.
So unless like anyone has any idea that it was supposed to be, like that concept falls under something else, in the interpretation, it's gonna remain an accessory structure.
Well, I guess we'll go down this list then, right? You guys ready? Any more questions? No? Okay. So there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the land involved such that the application of the ordinance
Chair,
provision. Yes.
you have to have a public hearing before
Oh.
y'all can actually take any action.
Oh, sorry. Okay. We're going back to the public hearing part. Do I have to end it now and then start again the time?
No, you just open the public hearing right now and state the time.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up this public hearing comment. It's 6:23. So if anybody has any comments, please come forward. Step up, please say your name and your address.
My name is Sherilyn Kripka, and I live at 20631 FM 3009. I am the bad neighbor to Mr. Simmons, and it's very difficult for me to come up and stand here and say what I have to say right now, but actually, I'm very old. I've been out here for 55 years, and I worked on Ordinance 13 on planning and zoning for 4 years. And you are, as far as I'm concerned, interpreting the porte-cochere situation very properly. It really has to be attached to the house and be part of the house's design. But the only thing I want to say is be careful what you do, because once you allow, and I hate to say this in front of my neighbor, but once you allow somebody to put a porte-cochere, or not a porte-cochere, but to put a carport in the front of the house in Garden Ridge, the big thing we always talked about is you set a precedent. And that is the older section of Garden Ridge. I lived there once. It's reblooming. So I want you all that are going to make a decision, I want you to remember that you do set a precedent. And my property is always gone up in Garden Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Ma'am, it's the one right here in the front rear corner. We'll just make you walk a couple of steps more. All right, thank you. Can you please state your name and your address?
Hi, Kay Bauer, 8947 Garden Ridge Drive in Garden Ridge. While I am empathetic to someone trying to remodel an older home, as I also have an older home, I do not support this request for variance. As someone who helped write this ordinance and several others, I do believe this carport violates the intent of the zoning regulations. I'm going to use a lot of direct quotes without the quotes from the ordinance. But if you reference Section 6 of Ordinance 13, for example, you'll find considerations for variance review. In this case, no special conditions such as topography nor physical features prevent this carport from being constructed in another location. The homeowners mentioned they have the option of creating a different entrance through, though it would necessitate, additional planning and instruction. It's not a unique site. Disallowing the variance request will not deprive the applicants of reasonable use of their land. Front-facing garages are no longer allowed to be built, and I believe a carport also detracts from the aesthetics. This variance request is a perfect example of why we need and have needed for some time a code compliance officer. I understand hiring someone has been proposed in the current budget. Adding a carport in someone's front yard is not in harmony with the spirit and purpose of our zoning regulations, and to deny their application would not deprive the homeowners of a feature others throughout the city might enjoy. Yes, there are other violations existing throughout the city, but those mistakes do not mean our current commissioners should allow additional violations to keep occurring. Denying this variance would not deprive the homeowners from something others within the city do enjoy. It is a non-conforming structure. I do not believe disallowing this variance request would create an undue hardship for the homeowners. They stated they made a mistake, and while I'm happy the gentleman is here this evening, not obtaining a permit prior to beginning construction for something as substantial as this seems odd, because as they stated, they did get permits for constructing a closet and a bath in their home. The carport is not behind the front facade of the primary dwelling and may or may not be anchored properly into its base. It appears only to be anchored into the ground on each side of the driveway, but honestly, I'm not sure about that. It requires a reinforced concrete slab or pad for anchor. And I don't know if, as of this writing, whether or not adjacent property owners have responded either in support of this request or against it. We need our elected officials as well as employees to help us maintain the integrity and the beauty of Garden Ridge, naturally home, especially to those of us who live in the older homes and not in gated communities. One key point of Ordinance 13 is to, quote, I will quote, to preserve and protect the integrity of single-family residential neighborhoods and to maintain property values. It will impair the purposes and intent of this ordinance and will be injurious to other property in the area. I believe allowing this carport will devalue the neighborhoods and by extension the city in general's property values. Thank all of you for your service to the city.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard? No? Okay.
You say something? I'm sorry.
No, I was just asking if there was anyone else to speak after you. So thank you very much. Okay, we'll go ahead and close.
And just for the record, I just want to state there were no written comments submitted for this.
Okay, we'll close that part at 6:28. And now we'll go back. Any further last-minute discussion before we start to vote down this? All right, so we're going to go to number 1. There are special circumstances or conditions affecting the land involved such as the application of the ordinance provision would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of their land. No. 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 Jennifer? Okay, no. Number 2, the zoning variance, if granted, would be a minimum necessary relief to alleviate the undue hardship. No. Okay. The zoning variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property rights of the applicant. No. No. Okay. The granting of the zone variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or general welfare, impairing the purpose and intent of the ordinance and the comprehensive plan, or be injurious to the other property within the area. Yes? 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 Okay. Yeah. So it would be detrimental to the property around it. It would be detrimental. So she's saying it should be no. It would not be detrimental. We're saying it would be yes. So I'll just say one yes and one no. It is confusing. Can you help us with that one?
You know, which section?
We're talking about number 4. It says the granting of the zoning variance will not be detrimental to the public health. It would be detrimental to the neighborhood, or not.
Well, and impair the purposes and intent of the ordinance. It's the purposes and intent of the ordinance.
So we would say no. So can you change your votes? No? No? Okay. All right. The granting of the zoning variance will not affect the, the granting of the zoning variance will not have the effect of preventing the orderly use of other land within the area in accordance with this ordinance. No. I would say that's,
Maybe that would be a yeah.
I would say no, because it's not, we're not granting it, so. You say no? It's the same thing.
Yeah, you're saying.
It's just worded differently.
Yeah.
Okay. And an undue hardship exists using the following criteria for applicant without the variance.
It depends how you define undue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
We could, I mean, he did declare so you could say yes. I mean, either way, the majority is no. Do they, attorney, do we have to have 100% on either yes or no?
You have to have 100% yes for it to pass.
Okay,
Yes on
so,
all of them.
so then if we say yes on the last one, it's not gonna,
that's true.
is that okay?
Sure. you can
We'll say
yes.
yes on the last one.
Just to
Okay.
clarify, did y'all say no for number 5?
For number 5, we said no. For number 6, we said yes.
Okay, thank you.
So 1 through 5 is no, 6 is yes. And I believe,
So then we need a formal vote based on that.
right. So what our formal vote is, all those in favor to grant, we would say no, right? Or yes?
The motion can be to grant and then.
Or to
it's
deny.
a vote no.
Or to
a
upheld the denial.
Deny and then a vote yes, yes.
So I need a motion. So it's either to grant or deny, or uphold the denial.
I move to deny the zoning variance.
Okay. And I need a second?
I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, aye. No. Okay, so we have 4 ayes and 1, no, 4 for denying it and 1 for granting it. So the motion is denied. I apologize. Okay? Well, thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Well,
Thank you.
Technically, the motion passes.
The motion
but
passes
the-
to deny.
The variance is denied. I just want to
Yes.
make that clear.
Thank you for clarifying that. The motion passes, but the variance was denied. Mr. Simmons, is that clear? Okay, thank you. All right. And with that, if there's no other business, I will conclude today's meeting at 6:33. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
There's another citizen comment period.
I'm sorry, wait, we did citizens to comment. We did the citizens to comment. You guys are gonna drive me nuts. All right, I apologize. I thought that was the third one, that's why I asked that question earlier. So apparently we have another hearing for public comment. Is it on this last variance or what this is on? Just on anything? There we go. All right. So citizens, comment period, see rules, not required to sign up. This is what we limited earlier. So is there anybody who would like to have public comment? Please state your name and address before you begin. Is anybody left? No? All right. With no comments to come forward, we're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 6:34.